Hey, welcome back everyone. It's me, Mr. 4K Upscaler again. I think this would be very useful for those of you who are thinking about buying a new TV, possibly, LG C1. That seems to be the TV that everyone's buying currently. Maybe, not necessarily 55 inch or 65 inch, but possibly 48 inch for 1400 or 1500, depending where you look to buy it. And you also happen to have Xbox Series X, which is right over here. Series X. So there's this feature right under General Settings, and under there, TV Display Options. And when you click on these settings, which I'm going to show you right now. For those of you who don't know where to find it, I'm pretty sure everybody knows where to find it, but I'm making this video for everybody. You click on the General Settings, and then you move down to the Display Options, TV and Display Options, and then you click to Calibrate TV. This is the updated version of Calibration that it's very unique, which I'm going to walk you through it really quick. I'm not going to do any settings here. I might do that video separately, but I just want to show you what this calibrating software that's already implemented, what it consists of. That's included on the Xbox. So you click on it, and obviously it's going to ask you to give you the instructions on what to do, how to do it, etc., etc. So we're gonna click next. All right, so this is just some basic information letting you know what options you have, how to check your calibration by turning off certain filters like color temperature to warm one, or low, or mid, or neutral. Also dynamic contrast. These are all just the filters. Just giving you the various different options on your controller that you can use while you are calibrating. Right here you can use these filters, and you can go to the advanced, you go to the picture mode settings, and you go to the advanced settings right here, advanced controls, and from here you can adjust your contrast, dynamic contrast, color gamut, white balance, which is your temperature. But this is something you can use while you are calibrating, right? So while you're calibrating, you use the remote control, and you start adjusting the temperature of the color, start adjusting the saturation of the color by moving the color down, also turning off the dynamic contrast off and on to see if the white digital levels are being overblown or not overblown. So it gives you just a little sense of how you're supposed to navigate when you do these calibrating settings. So moving on to the next, this is basically your aspect ratio and sharpness. So this right here gives you the aspect ratio. This is 16:9, which is the widescreen. Over here, this is just giving you some basic understanding of if your aspect ratio it's not where it needs to be, then you won't be seeing the green line. But right now I'm seeing the green line, so I already know that my aspect ratio it's exactly where it needs to be. And it's also letting you know that your sharpness should be always set to 0, which is true. Your sharpness should always be set to 0. You can do that right now if you want. Go to the settings over here, and just go down to the picture mode settings, go to the sharpness and turn it down right here, bring it all the way to the 0. People say, why do you want the sharpness to be at the 0? Well, you want the sharpness to be at the 0 because pixels density, it's what creates detail. It's not really sharpness that creates detail. Sharpness, it's a filter that can be used to outline every and each pixel, so that way you can see a little bit better. If the picture is very soft, but it doesn't give you the detail. What gives the detail, obviously, it's the higher count of pixels. The more pixels you have, the higher density of pixels you have, the better detail you're gonna have on the television. You should always keep the sharpness to 0. So moving on to the next. Now the brightness, you got to remember I'm using the camera and it's really hard, for you to see what I'm seeing with my own 2 retina eyes versus what the this camera from my phone Fold Z3 it's depicting, okay? Not to mention there's also a lot of reflection. You can see the lamp in the background. So what brightness is, so what they're teaching you here basically is, I don't know if you guys can see it or not. You see this right here? You see that eye? What brightness really is the definition of the shadow, definition of the black levels, and why it's important that you don't crush your black levels, because if you crush your black levels, then you won't have any definition in the dark areas. You won't be able to see the shadow in a detailed definition. So the idea is to have this adjusted to a balanced black levels, meaning that you need to go over here, use your controller. Okay, so what this basically is, this is just your, it's the canvas for you to look and see where your brightness should be, and then you use the remote control and then you start adjusting your brightness. Like right now my brightness is where it needs to be. It's at 50, and that's where you want to have it. A lot of people make mistakes by confusing the brightness with the LED backlit or OLED light. LED backlit, it's the LED lights, they're supporting the LCD panel. LCD, which stands for liquid crystal display panel. That's in the front, that requires LEDs to backlit that television. All right, this is OLED. It emits by its own organic light emitting diodes, and it doesn't require any OLED or any LED light behind it, because it adds its own light that's powered by electricity to lit up every and each pixel by itself. Meaning it still requires electricity, but it lights up obviously without any support of backlit. Doesn't require any backlit. So the brightness here, you need to adjust it to balanced 50, and that's where I would keep it. You can also check your gamma. If you have any, let me see. The gamma right here, you can adjust that too. People ask me where your gamma should be. I always tell people the gamma should be at 2.2. Not at BT, not at 1.9. This is too bright. I would keep it at 2.2. This is where you want to be. Remember, the key thing here is a balance. That's the whole idea of calibration. I spoke to a lot of individuals who are, I've been doing this for I don't know how many years now, and I spoke to a lot of individuals who work in, calibrating department. Even though I like to use my own preference settings, I understand, the calibrating process. And in short term, to explain calibration, it's really about bringing that natural balanced level of the picture. So the next step is going to be obviously your brightness here. Again, now you get to see your shadows here. You can use this to adjust to see what level do you need your brightness to be at. You can see the eye over here and the eye over there. It's kind of hard to depict it with the camera, but basically what it does is it's showing you that your brightness needs to be at the level where you can still see the definition in the dark. And if you can't see the definition in the dark areas, that means that your black levels are crushed, and that means you're losing the natural picture quality. Now this is your contrast. Now contrast is being used to the maximum in your HDR, because high dynamic range It's a different format that requires that contrast. But this is not HDR. This is just your standard, calibrating picture image on the Xbox, on this television. When it comes to contrast, you want to make sure that you are not overblowing the two different levels. The white levels, which are very important, the white digital levels. Those white digital levels, if they are overblown, then you're going to have a difficult time looking at the definition of vibrant light or something reflecting on the wall. So you want to make sure that you're not overblowing your white digital levels. So if you're playing a video game or if you're watching a movie and there's a lot of sky scenes, bright light in the sky, it's going to be very difficult for you to see the definition of the sky because you are overblowing the white digital levels. So this is a good way for you to adjust the contrast, And they give you a tool over here to do that as well, so you can see, how much of detail can you see without overblowing your, white digital levels. And this is really easy to do. I already have it set up to a certain way right here on my picture settings, where my contrast is it's 84. So that way I can see a definition of both of these eyes and both of these two suns over here. So the reason I'm showing you this because I want to show you this is a pretty cool tool for calibrating on the Xbox. And I think the next one, the last but not least, is going to be the color, I think. This is your brightness again. And this is your advanced color right here. For you to adjust a color, make sure that it's not oversaturating. So when it comes to the color, which I'm going to get back to it right now. When it comes to the color, what you want to make sure is that your blue and your pink and your green and your white, it's not being oversaturated. Oversaturation, basically, what you're going to see is like a bleeding color on your screen. And you don't want that. So right over here, the color should be not at 63, the color should be at 50. You also got to make sure that your filters for the color are turned off. Like dynamic color. I see a lot of people use dynamic color and they cranked up the color to like a 68 clicks or 73 to 74 clicks. Like, you don't want to do that. That's oversaturating the color. So you want to avoid that. So what I would recommend is leave the color at 50 right over here, and also check your picture options. Make sure that your filters are turned off right here, and also go to the advanced controls. Make sure that your color gamut is set to automatic. This is very important, that your color gamut is set to automatic, not to the extended. And I would leave this as it is when it comes to our color management system. Leave this as it is. So just make sure that you don't have any like filters like dynamic color or anything like that here implemented, and just make sure that your color gamut it's set to automatic. So anyway, I just wanted to show you this quickly. I don't know how many of you actually have used this, but I think it's a pretty cool tool that's available on the Xbox. I have used it a few times. I have used it just for reference, and I think you guys should use it as well. Absolutely. But I already know, people ask me, why don't you have a calibrating equipment? The reason I don't have a calibrating equipment, it's honestly, I already know the rules of picture settings. I already know that I cannot crush my black digital levels and I cannot overblow my white digital levels. And I also understand I cannot oversaturate any colors. And if I am calibrating for a movie, the temperature of the color, which is the white balance, needs to be set to a little bit warm. And of course, sharpness needs to be set to 0, because sharpness doesn't really give you any detail. It just outlines the pixels. The pixels density gives you the detail of a higher resolution. So I am already familiar with the rules of, calibrating, but this is a good tool to use. Even if you're familiar, it's a good tool to have. So I think it's awesome that the Xbox has this. I would love to see a PlayStation do something similar where they can implement this. But there you have it. I hope this was helpful. Sorry for the 15 minutes. I hope the video was helpful. Thank you for watching.